to GESP Podcast. We are here to reimagine the playing field in women's sports with female game changers. My name is Ruza, FA of Serbia grassroots manager, sports industry specialist, and former football referee. Let's empower the girls with this episode, and big round of applause for my next guest. Welcome to GESP Podcast. This another episode is bringing someone dear to my heart. When I say that, it's because I really follow her work thoroughly. Nina Kolundzija is not just a journalist. She's more than that. She's a game changer in sports industry because through her podcast and through her work, she's really giving the proper perspective of female athletes when we speak about sports. So I will, instead of saying welcome, I will first say thank you, and then welcome to GSP Podcast.
Thank you, and thanks for this introduction.
You deserve it all, and I adore your show, Her Rules. So first thing, what I have to ask and push a little bit is, when are we continue with these amazing stories?
Hopefully soon. I have tons of things to do, and podcast is one on to-do list for 2024.
Looking forward to hear some new episodes. I really have to ask you from the beginning, how did you fall in love with sports?
Wow, it was 1995 with my brothers, European Basketball Championship for men.
Doesn't matter?
Yeah, but it was after sanctions and embargo of Yugoslavia, first competition after, I think, 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And it was emotional. It was different championship, and everyone watched that championship, so me too. And that was the first time I fell in love in basketball, in sport in general. Next year, 1996, Olympics Atlanta.
Yes.
Yeah, it made that love even bigger.
And how did your road look like? When I ask that, is because your road started in 90s and then went further, and you managed to build an incredible name full with credibility. So when we speak about female sports journalists and when we mention your name, we always have that, oh, she really knows about sport kind of comment. She's not just a pretty face. even though some colleagues of yours over the years try to present the way how you look physically, not only which is a compliment.
It's not only for me, it's also for female athletes.
Yes.
They usually say beautiful athlete.
Yes.
Yeah.
Instead of her
best
record.
Yeah. They usually say, I remember one headline for Maja Ognjenović when she came back to play for national team again. It was one of the most beautiful Serbian female athletes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
they never say Nikola Jokic has beautiful eyes or something like that. He's the best. Yeah, he's the best basketball player in the world, but nothing handsome or something like that.
Yes. I always use, and I'm even boring with speaking about her example, Ivana Španović, as one who has been so underestimated for what she has done as an athlete in terms of how she's represented. Always it's her hairstyle.
But I think we have like two sides of stories. Sometimes beautiful athletes and everything else. And usually when girls start to do some sports when they are young, they usually say, don't do that because you're going to be masculine.
Yes.
You won't be feminine. So two sides of stories.
Yes. And don't be journalist here.
Okay.
You just went away from yourself. I'm not gonna allow you that. So let's go back to the 90s. Okay. Let's go back to your road, because you're important as an athlete, because you're their voice, especially female voice of female athletes, and you did that really great with your podcast, and that's why I'm so rooting for continuation. So how your road over the years after Atlanta looked like?
I started to write for school newspapers, and it was really just the beginning of everything, nothing special and nothing professional. It was, I would say, my column as a kid. Yeah. I went on a faculty of political science journalism, but there was nothing about sport journalism.
And that didn't change even now?
No. No.
Okay, we do have those.
You can't have a real impression on journalism if you go to Faculty of Political Science. How does newsroom looks like? What's the role of every member on television and everything else?
We have those stuff that you students created and organized, and you had those kind of platforms or websites where you would try to do something related to sports. But besides that,
nothing else.
I also heard that professors would mock in some way when you would come with a sports story.
Yeah, something like that.
Why is that? Because they are not competent for that?
It's under... I don't know how to say that. It's like sport journalism is not, for them, valuable as investigative journalism, for example, or some other journalism. So that's why I think they have some special opinion on sport journalists. That's why I believe, especially if it comes to girls and women.
Yes, because over the years, sport industry wanted to show us that you can become, let's say, news reporter or TV reporter only if you look like you came from a runway, which is not true.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not here to comment how good you look, but in the end, you also are part of a television, and been part of a television. So, and you come with so much knowledge and credibility. So this doesn't have to be a case, and they're presenting it in the wrong way.
Exactly. But I have to say one thing. Not all the professors had the same opinion. For example, Dragoljub Žarković, I went for his classes investigative journalism, and I said I like sports, so he gave me sports subjects to
That's
do.
nice.
Yes, TV. Those not were TV packages. It was journalism, press journalism, but sports journalism.
This
it was
is
really
important.
nice. But not all the professors were the same.
Yes, yeah. I heard so many stories
and
from
so
your colleagues.
supportive, and so supportive, yeah. Sorry.
No, it's fine.
You asked me about my beginnings.
So during the studying of political science,
I was reading sport journal all the time. I was reading sport journal all the time, and some of my colleagues now, when they met me nowadays, they say they remember me as someone who was always holding sport and sport journal. Those were two newspapers at that time.
Tempo.
Tempo was already missing
gone?
at that. Yeah, gone.
I really loved it.
Yeah, me too. My favorite.
Same.
Yeah, I was living in a small town, Bačka Palanka, and we were getting only, I think, 2 or 3 copies.
So you were always the one to get it.
Every Wednesday, 7 a.m. first, at the newsstand, buying my Tempo. Yeah, so that was the way I was going for the games, watching for the games, and everything else. So I didn't allow them to how to say in English. To kill that love in me.
Yeah, this is the best expression you could find.
Yeah. So after
you stuck to your passion.
Yeah. I kept that fire in me.
Phenomenal. I can even feel it now. Like, I adore your energy. And
I kept that.
Yes.
Yeah. So one of my colleagues, male colleagues, he already worked for B92 and he knew how much I loved sport. So he asked my colleagues, I have a friend. She loves sport. I know you are a male group, but I think she's available and she can perfectly fit into your group. And they said, okay.
Let's give it a shot.
Yeah, she can come. So I came there and I never felt like an intruder in that male group, if I can say so. B92 was really special place. They always, everyone, paying attention on all human rights, gender equality and everything else. So you never felt like you're less valuable if you're doing sport journalism, for example.
That's nice to hear.
Yeah. At the beginning, they asked me, do you really want to do that or you want to go to another department? But some of comments were finally a woman in a male group. Nice. And my colleagues were always very supportive. I became one of them. And even when I didn't believe in myself, they believed in me and they gave me a chance, an opportunity. But at the same time, I have to say that I was a lucky girl because not all my colleagues got the opportunity. I know that some of my colleagues are working for some TV stations for more than decades, and they never covered live some big championships and competitions abroad. Never.
And why is that? What do you think?
I think because they are a woman.
Yeah, this is why I ask you this, so that we speak out loud about.
When an editor has a chance to choose between man and a woman, he gives a chance to a man.
And why?
I don't know.
That
is a good question.
Is that because he thinks like if it's a male championship, that she will look for an opportunity to, I don't know, build a relationship there? Or it's because maybe, I mean, you are a mother, so that means that if maybe some of your colleagues are also mothers, so that means that, okay, she's leaving family
but
to
even
go
before
there.
She became a mother.
So then maybe he doesn't trust her enough to know
prejudice.
Yes.
Or prejudice, yeah.
Yes, but this is definitely not nice.
Yeah, I always think that things changed and that we improved in that way. But then I look around myself on Media Tribune, for example, in European Championship 2 years ago in Prague and Berlin, and I see not more than 10 women.
From entire Europe?
Yes.
So this is not only thing that we have in Balkans?
No.
And what about the States? Because you had a chance to be a program of the U.S. Embassy where you could go and follow the best leagues and best sports in States. What about your colleagues there? I mean, I see and hear so many more women, but I believe it starts from the college sports. But what was your impression?
They have special law. They brought it, I think, 50 years ago about gender equality in university, especially when we talk about sport. So that changed things a lot. But when I ask them about the numbers, they are not really optimistic.
Okay, so even though we hear and see some change, in the reality, it's not there.
For example, during pandemic, Kyrie Irving gave his salary to basketball players in WNBA.
Okay.
That says everything.
Yes.
Or, for example, their national football team, female women, they fought for equal pay, and they are world champions, and men can't even beat Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes, and men were paid so many.
And they asked for equal pay.
Yes. Fortunately, they got it.
Yeah. And they usually, when in States, when you ask them about that, they say white men are in power and they bring all decisions. And that's why things didn't change a lot. And more. And
speaking of your perspective on that topic now, do you feel that things changed? Or there is a bit of a hypocrisy in there that is actually happening?
I think things changed, but not as much as I would love they changed. For example, I was the first woman working for B92 in sports newsroom, as I say. First TV anchor, editor and everything else.
First one who went abroad from that station? Yes, okay.
Yeah. Now we have TV Prva and B92 like merged televisions. We have 4 women, which is...
Yeah, it's a progress.
It's a progress for a small
TV station.
TV station, yeah.
That's nice. And speaking of when you now go abroad for the championships, how does it feel now comparing to when you first went outside?
I think working for B92 and with those colleagues gave me a confidence at the beginning that I also have now. They build that confidence in me. And I was like in some balloon.
Thinking that exists everywhere.
Yeah. That every girl is going to get the same chance as me. So I started to work there in 2007. In 2008, I had first live coverage. In 2009, I had my first news show. In 2011, I live covered first Masters Cup tennis. Master Cup. It was Djokovic thing and everything else.
But
And
we're speaking about 2011.
Yes.
It's not like recent years.
2012, we had several Master Series tournaments. Monte Carlo, Madrid, and Rome. And we were discussing who is going where.
Okay.
And they told me, okay, choose. Where do you want to go?
Wow, that's
so
really nice.
I thought it's normal to ask your colleague. But in some other companies, it wasn't normal. And it's still not normal.
Yeah, it's like a breadcrumbs. Just having what is left.
Yeah.
Or nobody's willing to take from your male colleagues.
Exactly. So that's why I got a wrong impression about the reality and about the numbers of women in sport journalism and their rights and their chances and their opportunities. So I think really that thing changed, but not
in a way we would like to.
Yeah, and it's not so much.
And what was the attitude of other colleagues from other the TV stations that would see you going there and following with them? Because I do know when you go abroad, you become a team, let's say, group of journalists from Serbia. Yeah. So you are a team within a team. And even though you're coming from competitive houses and so on. So how did they react on you? Were they as helpful as your own team? Or it depended on the person?
I think they did. But I think it had to do with my attitude to them.
Okay.
Because my attitude was like pretty friendly, not competitive. I was asking questions, helping them as well. So that's why they started to act with me in the same way. That's why. I think.
Doesn't matter. We are not going to question their motives.
Yeah.
And when did you feel like going out with the Her Rules podcast is what we are missing? Because we missed those stories that you brought with amazing athletes. When was the moment when you felt like, okay, my environment, my industry is missing this. We need to give them platform to speak up, and how that happened?
You mentioned that program in the US. It was Global Sports Mentoring Program. It helps empowering women through sport. 16 women from all over the world came in States every year and discussing the ways they can help their community, how they can help female athletes, women in sport journalists, to improve in their jobs. So I was part of them. I was listening their stories. Not all of them are sport journalists. Some of them are athletes. Some of them work on some executive positions. Officials or something like that. And many of them were from Africa, from Asia. And you always think that things in Serbia are the worst in the world.
No, they're not.
They are not. No. When you hear those women and their problems, then you're asking yourself, do I really have a problem? And I had mentor from NHL. It's National Hockey League. She is amazing woman, and she helped me to find a subject I would like to do when I come back to Serbia, the way I can help my community through my job. And podcast was one of the ideas. And that's how I created her rules with Nina. The bad thing was, it was the end of 2019,
Yes.
at the beginning of pandemic.
Yes.
Yeah.
But doesn't matter. There are some stories that you have recorded, let's say back in the time, that are still being repeated and watched and listened.
Yeah.
I see that your numbers are pretty high with some old episodes, which is really it really says a lot. It says two things. First of all, that it's probably an amazing show, which I can confirm, and the second thing would be that there is a lack of that kind of content.
When you open every website in our country, you will find a bunch of news about male sports, athletes and sport, and almost nothing about women.
Yes.
We can do it right now.
But how did you implement that in your daily work? Let's say, you do follow sports. You do not follow only women's sports. But I do know that probably, and by following you, you try to always find room.
But it's not easy, because when it comes to TV, when you have website, you can write. You don't have to have a video or photo. You can write what happened on some tennis match, volleyball match, football match, and so on. On TV, you need to have video. So it's a little bit tricky because of TV rights and everything else. You can't have TV rights on every competition in the world. But I try to find a way. For example, during tennis tournaments, especially Master Series, you usually have men's tournament and women's tournament. So I try to cover both of them, even though people are more interested in male because of Djokovic and everything else.
Yes.
We don't have Ana Ivanovic anymore, Jelena Jankovic. But I try to push also those stories in my news.
And speaking of your path, now again, you always try to move from your path, but I
don't like to speak about myself.
I know. But it is important that you do, because you are a role model, and there is a certain responsibility that comes with a role model.
Yeah.
And since that we are living in a world where everybody is speaking what they want, and a lot of those material and content is not good for younger generation.
Yeah.
And projects like this one are being done for the girls who should be empowered by people like you are, and that's why I wanted you here. When did you realize that you are a game changer? When was that moment when you said, okay, the things I'm doing are affecting women's sport, they're affecting sport overall, they're affecting my colleagues, my female colleagues, who now when they see me, they think, okay, I can have the same path, same opportunity, even though we heard that it's not the usual case, but in the end, you motivated them to follow their dreams. So when was that moment when you realized, okay, I have this?
In America, 2012. I don't like to speak about myself, you notice that, and I usually don't. On that program, you have to speak about yourself, because you are not a TV star in United States. They don't know you, and they need to get to know you, to meet you. So you need to say your name, what are you doing, why should they teach you something, why should they give you their time, and everything else. So several times from different women, I've heard, you're so self-confident. And I never thought about myself as a self-confident person. I just didn't thought about that. And talking to them about my job, what I have done, they told me, wow, it's so much. You have done so many things. And I was like,
they understood your confidence.
Yeah.
And then how did you embrace that after you came back? We do know that you did that a lot through your podcast, but in the end, understanding that you are a role model and that somebody's listening, somebody's following. And also the thing that I really like is when I speak with some of your colleagues about you, they always have nice words. It means that you gave them all the same chance regarding what you can offer them. and advices. I never heard that somebody came to you and that you said you don't want to help or give advice or whatever. I believe that it's also exhausting and time consuming. But in the end, how did you embrace after the United States the role that you realized that you already have?
I remembered my beginnings, and I remember men who gave me my chances and opportunity. For example, Vlada Novakovic. Every time I asked him, he would give me his time, 5 minutes or an hour. So that's what I'm trying to do now. Also, when I cover some stories, when I do some interviews, I'm trying to pay attention on narrative. I try to pay attention of the way I cover those stories and talk about those women. To speak about their stories, about their work, about what they are doing on the court, and not about how they look, about their private lives and everything else. I think I tried even more to help young women who are coming up to me and asking for help, for advice. That's the way America changed me, I think, and Global Sports Mentoring Program changed me.
And speaking about covering the private life, over the years, you became also a public person, not only because you were on TV, but because your success brought that attention to you. And then, everything was followed from your private life, motherhood, your health struggles, going out from that. How did you look after that, before that, whatever? I'm not trying to go to those topics. I'm just trying to understand, how did you feel when your colleagues would come out with those kind of news about you and following you the way the athletes are being followed and the way how you would like to be avoid that they are followed in that way, not to mention yourself, who we could hear now are not into speaking about herself. And they were speaking about you a lot. They would use you as news, as let's say, headline for some clicks.
Yeah,
How did it feel?
Yeah, I'm aware of that. And I'm trying to be a good colleague and to give interview every time I can. But for example, when I had some health issues and I gave a lot of interviews on that subject, it was my decision because I think that talking about that, you are helping people become aware of importance of going to the doctors on time, preventions and everything else. And it's okay even to be ill. It's not shame to be, it's not your fault. But then I read some headlines. I had cancer and I didn't have cancer. Like, I don't know if it's lack of education about some topic.
Or lack of moral.
Yeah.
I would go to the different direction. Yeah. Because even though
I don't mind. I know what I had and I'm not ashamed of that. But my parents would read that stories and they would ask me, did you have cancer or what? So...
as I said, you're a mother, so your child in the future, when he types Google mother's name, all those articles will go out.
Yeah. So having tumor and having cancer, it's not the same because you have benign tumor and you have that bad tumor, which is cancer. So I didn't like that, but I never called a single person, no one of them, and asked, why did you do that? I'm just letting that to their conscience.
Yes, but this is really important to speak about because there are also comments about all those journalists and those kind of stuff. So
they're putting us in the same box.
Yes, but by this
athletes also are doing that.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. It's like you're being treated in a way like you're not human beings. Like you're there just, let's say, to criticize them or get worse. And in some way, your colleagues try to do the same with you, without forgetting that you are actually that you're under the same pressure, under the same attitude about you. So by this, my question to you was just to highlight this fact that, I mean, even journalists are real people with real feelings, and it's just your work that has to be done.
Exactly. And when you know what are you trying to do in your job, and the same different person but colleague are doing that completely different and unmoral.
Yes.
And to you, it's, I don't know. For example, I don't want to talk about myself now. I will give you an example about the athletes. Nikola Jokic is not giving interview to Serbian journalists anymore because of that kind of colleagues. Interviews that were not his interviews, stories that were fake.
Yes.
So he decided to put all of us in the same box. And
that's
he's
not fair.
Yeah, and he's not talking to any of us. And that's not fair, because I'm doing my job in a real way, in a good way, and someone else. For example, you had the other night Miloš Teodosic playing games against Panathinaikos in EuroLeague. It was a tough game, another loss for Red Star in EuroLeague, and a journalist, a colleague, asked him about his divorce.
Yes. Well, it was not nice, but it's a bit of a justice, because women are always being asked about those kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm joking. It's not what I want for either male or
but
female.
You understood
athlete.
me.
You
understood what I mean.
And this was going to make him think that all the journalists are going to do the same, and he's not into it, and so on.
Yeah.
So that's definitely the true. But when you have those kind of situations during your work, when athletes are not into speaking to you, or
I respect their decision.
Okay, so you don't push.
No, I ask if he says or she says no, I don't want. I respect the decision. It's okay. I'm not approving it, but I respect it.
Yes, I wanted to ask that.
Yeah.
Like, how do you feel about that fact that they're
I don't approve that, because Nikola Jokic is giving interview in NBA league
all the time.
All the time, because he has
he's
to.
Super funny.
Because he has to.
Oh, okay.
If he doesn't do that, he will pay.
Yes.
The check will wait for him in the locker room, and he needs to pay his money.
Okay.
So that's why he's giving interviews. And it's not fair, but it's his decision. I can't do anything with that. I can't change it.
Even when he's a part of a national team of Serbia, he has that attitude of not speaking to media.
Yeah. We had the situation in Eurobasket 2022. Nikola Jokic, Luka Doncic, and Giannis Antetokounmpo, 3 big stars, NBA stars. No one of them gave single interview during the championship.
So they took this MBA method. If I don't have to pay for it, I can avoid
Only
it.
In press room, like a press conference, but interviews, no.
And do you use those moments in press conference to even ask some questions like, and do you feel that
you usually can ask only about the game, about the championship, but something you would really sometimes wanted to ask, no.
And how does it feel? And because I see some of your colleagues even using the press conference for those kind of questions.
Sometimes public relation managers doesn't allow you to ask that. They usually say, we don't want to talk about that during press conference.
So when
it's not the subject.
When you're limited to do your work, how does it feel?
Not good.
Sadly, people cannot see your expression because they would see a frustration.
Yeah.
But
it's good. I had with my faces, oh my God, last year during World Cup in Manila, I wasn't aware that my colleagues were using cell phones to shoot head coach of our national team, Svetislav Pešić, and he was talking about Nikola Jokic.
Okay.
And my face impressions were really...
showed what you think about that.
Yeah. I became viral.
I know. I remember that. I remember that. But do you feel at those moments that you became viral not only because of your expression, but because it's a female? Because how did on earth she had a right to have him?
But comments usually were funny. No one were like, don't, oh my God, she's not normal or something like that. It was funny.
Yeah, I remember that.
Because I believe most of people had the same on their minds as me about Nikola Jokic at that time, because he didn't play for Serbia in the World Cup.
I still didn't.
They were approving.
I still didn't forgive him that.
Yeah,
I have to say.
I think they were approving the way I expressed that.
I could talk with you hours, days on this subject, but I really don't want to miss the chance to, while we are on the peak of our conversation, to ask, what are you dreaming about now? Because I heard what little and young Nina dreamt of. I heard that so many dreams came true. And I heard that you had amazing support over the years to help you reach those goals. And what are the dreams that you have now regarding not only your job, but the sports industry, us ladies within a sports industry, all the girls coming to sports?
To make female athletes and sports more visible in media, to make them news on daily basis, not only when they win medals. To watch female sports every day, not only during Olympics or European Championship or World Cup or whatsoever. I always remember Sonja Vasic told me when she started to play for national team, people would tell her, "Oh my God, you're so good." And she said, "I play basketball for years, and now you're saying me that I'm so good." So I never had opportunity to see her on TV during her career. And you can watch any league, football league in the world on our TV station, sports TV station, basketball, even handball and volleyball and women's sports.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yes,
It's pity that we can't watch, for example, Tijana Bošković.
Yes.
Every weekend, or some other volleyball or basketball players. We don't know about our basketball players till Marina Marinković called them for national team.
And then I'm like, oh, who's this girl?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
exactly.
Yes, that's true.
And it's really, really sad.
To me, that problem goes and comes from the clubs themselves as well. Because I always like to take Bayern Munich as an example, good example for that. The guy who is in charge of the marketing in the men's club is also in charge for the women's club. There is no chance on earth that he has time for both regarding strategies, because there are completely different strategies that should be put there. So I do believe that he has a team who just does tick the boxes in terms of content they should produce. Especially because in the end, if you go to a Bayern Munich shop, you cannot buy a jersey of a women's player. You can just have a woman's jersey and then put the last name on it. And I always ask, what is the difference if I put my last name or Jovana Damjanovic, who actually plays for it? By that, you're literally underestimating what she has done as an athlete by making me be like her, let's say like that.
Yeah.
And this is sad. But this is also opportunity, and that's why we have projects like this one. That's why we have. That's why we are connected as ladies who want to do something more.
Yeah, but we are minority.
Yes.
Yeah. Sports. Men are usually fan of sports, not women, and I think that's why we have that situation. They usually say no one cares about women's sports. It's not the same sport. For example, they usually say basketball. Let's watch women's and men's basketball. It's completely different sports. Those are comments of the man.
Yes, that's true. But
it's okay to be different. Yeah. It doesn't mean this is not good. It's okay to be different.
That's true, but
For example, for me, women's volleyball is much more beautiful than men's. I prefer women's volleyball than men's.
well, this is one of the rare sports
For example,
where we
yeah.
know that female superstars are more paid than men superstars. This is like the rare,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
rare sport and situation. But
It's the beauty of the game, of the
Exactly.
volleyball, when you watch women's game.
But I also believe that this comes from those institutions, like let's say UEFA, FIBA, FIFA,
Exactly.
everybody. Even though there are changes, nobody's saying that there are not.
Yeah,
because,
but you have men on executive positions.
yeah,
So they won't change. They won't give a woman a chance. Let's take our football association.
true. That's true.
We don't have women in.
I wanted to say in terms of basketball, as it's the, let's say, the number one sport for you. I've been to Ljubljana to watch the latest Eurobasket, and I was super sad because I saw that the governmental institution for European basketball did nothing to make that championship interesting. On the contrary, the organization was so bad. It was so bad that EHF European Championship was better, that happened in the same. And we know that handball is not that followed as basketball. And I felt really sad because I was there as a fan of women's sports, because I feel that if we speak about doing some changes, we need to put our money where our mouth is. So I went there as a basketball fan. I went there as a handball fan. So I went to both competitions, and I was sad understanding that handball was better organized than basketball, because I knew that potential for basketball was even higher. I mean, the wife of Aleksandra Čeferin, she's a former basketball player, and she's Slovenian. So you had the power to make your visibility through, let's say, football for the women's basketball so high, and you didn't use a chance.
I think it's FIBA problem. It's not only about women's championship. It's the same thing with the men's championships. This one in Manila was one of the worst when it comes to organization. About everything. They gave so many rights to local organizing committee, and they were not ready to organize such a big event. In Manila, I'm talking about Manila, not because it was also in Japan and Jakarta. I was only in Manila. So it was a huge mess. And my colleagues told me that in 2019, I think, I wasn't in China. It was the same situation. When we talk about some, internet didn't work.
Yes, I understand.
On Media
that.
Tribune, we didn't have internet.
I mean, in Ljubljana, I was watching. Serbia played the game for the 5th place, and since I bought that ticket, I also bought the ticket for the final day. So I wanted to watch the final and game for the 3rd place. And every time you would have to go out from the hall and go in for the next game. So imagine if there was more than a couple of hundreds of people who were there. Imagine how that would look like.
It would be a mess.
Exactly.
A real mess.
So this is what hurts me when I see that those who should change something are not paying attention, or they don't care at all. But as I said, it's an opportunity as well.
Yeah. In the case of basketball, I really think it's about FIBA. In Manila, they were planning to have games in a huge hall, which is on the edge of the city. When people from FIBA, they gave everything to local organizing committee. And when FIBA staff came in Manila and they saw that arena, they were like, are you crazy? It's impossible. So only 2 games and during the opening day, were playing there. So
yes, understandable. And you again did what you were doing during the entire episode. You would escape from a question that was directed to you and go speaking about the sports itself. So I will repeat. What are you dreaming of? Not what you want to change for the women's game, which also are pretty normal, that are your dreams as well. But personally, what is the next dream for you?
To try to do that through my job, through some TV show, for example, through some workshops with
Count on me for
girls.
everything.
With girls. Yeah. Something like that.
So there is a legacy behind your dream.
To help, like something like that, to help young generations to go through this path easier than me and my colleagues. I had good experience
but this is a
good
minority.
chances, opportunities, and everything. But my colleagues, some of them didn't and don't.
Yes.
So that's something I would like to change.
I'll definitely participate in your change. That's for sure.
I'll call you.
Thank you for coming to this podcast and for sharing your personal story, knowing that you're not fond of speaking about yourself, but in a way that can actually help some other women and girls listening to this.
Thank you.
Big shout out to European Union for co-financing this project as a part of the cooperation partnership in field of sports.